She is co-host of Open Mic Couch podcast, creator of Chirping from the Box, and her dog.
Yeah, that's Woodford.
Hi, Winford.
And Philmont, they're gone. Sorry about that, Joey.
It's okay.
Yes.
I speak dog, and I think what Winford was saying was, Yins don't have a chance. Tampa Bay is going to destroy you. Don't even bother playing the game. I think that's what he was saying in dog language. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Donut Bag, part of the PodHub Network. In this episode, I welcome back Ashley Wright from the Open Mic Couch podcast about the Penguins' next opponent, the Tampa Bay Lightning. They have the best record in the league. They look unstoppable, but maybe we found a weakness. The Donut Bag starts right now. The Penguins are reeling. They just lost to the Devils and did not look good at all. And it does not get any easier as they welcome the Tampa Bay Lightning. With me to talk about it is Ashley Wright. She is co-host of Open Mic Couch podcast, creator of Chirping from the Box, and her dog.
Yeah, that's Woodford.
Hi, Winford.
And Philmont, they're gone. Sorry about that, Joey.
It's okay.
Yes.
I speak dog, and I think what Winford was saying was, Yins don't have a chance. Tampa Bay is going to destroy you. Don't even bother playing the game. I think that's what he was saying in dog language.
So, true story. Philmont is actually a Penguins fan. Woodford, we haven't figured out yet. We thought he was a Predators fan, but we think he's actually a Lightning fan. So, the house gets their mom is divided mentally with Penguins Lightning. So disclaimer to everyone, I have Pittsburgh connections. I went to Pitt. I went to Wilkes-Barre games before that. And now I live in the Tampa area, and I'm a Tampa Bay Lightning season ticket holder. So it's a mind divided and a house divided. So, but tomorrow's going to be really interesting because, the Penguins had their long break. Well, so did the Lightning. This will actually be Tampa's first game since January 19th. So that's going to be, if I do my, Joey, that's what, 11 days?
Correct.
And the Pens definitely looked like they were taking their time and enjoyed their break a little too much last night. And honestly, I kind of have a feeling the Lightning are going to be in the same boat here because first off, if you know anything about the Lightning, they're perennial chokers.
Yes.
Which we're doing a separate episode on that.
Yes.
We think. But if you remember anything last year, so that the Lightning came into the All-Star break in the same exact scenario they're in this year. They were the number one team in the Eastern Conference. They were flying high. They, had all these All-Stars, same thing as this year. But after the All-Star break last year, they just completely collapsed. They nearly lost the division to Boston and somehow hung on to the division and somehow made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, which, I'll talk about this more down the line. But, my whole thing is, if you don't play well after the All-Star break, typically you're not going to make it far in the playoffs. And they somehow made it far in the playoffs last year. And I feel like this year's just deja vu. I mean, they're 37-10-2. That's just ridiculous. You haven't seen anything like that in, 25, 30 years?
Exactly. They're on pace for, I think, 127 points, which hasn't been done, I think, since 95 or 96 or something. I think the Red Wings were the last team to do that. So insane. 37 wins in 49 games. That's ridiculous.
Well, and you figure for a good chunk of, not a good chunk of that, but they were without Andre Vasilevsky for some time with his broken foot. They did that with their backup goalie, who's Louis Domingue. I mean, that's what most people I know who Louis Dominguez is. He came from Arizona, but most people do not know who Louis Dominguez is. But yet he stepped right in and he did his part and helped keep them going. And it's they went like the whole month of December without a regulation loss.
Crazy.
Yeah, they lost in overtime. Or no, I'm sorry, that is wrong. That was no. I'm sorry. This is me cold right now. But they basically went the equivalent of a month without a regulation loss, which was just going to the games was even ridiculous too. And for those of you listening, the thing with the Lightning is they're all about speed. And one thing that's going to be interesting tomorrow is how long they can maintain their speed. Because even during the winning streak, but especially since probably Christmas, they've been playing fragmented games. I mean, as Pens fans, everyone the Pens are always guilty of that. I mean, that's just the way the Penguins are. But the Lightning are typically known under John Cooper for playing complete games. And to me, they haven't been playing complete games as of late. I look at when they played Toronto right before the All-Star break. They were actually playing well in the first period, and then the second and third, they just completely fell apart. And then even against Carolina the week before that, their second period was probably one of their worst periods of hockey they've ever played this season. But yet they still won 3-1, which is ridiculous. And that just goes to show you that they just have the talent to outlast any bad hockey they play. And, you could put that on Vasilevsky because Vasilevsky faces a lot of shots. Don't be surprised to see the Pens put up 35 to 40 shots tomorrow, but maybe only 2 go in. But it could be on the flip side. You could see 6 go in.
Gosh, it sounds like they sound a lot like the Penguins. We're gonna skate. We're gonna be fast. We're gonna speed. Oh, don't worry about the goalie. He'll just save everything. It doesn't matter. Did they give up a lot of odd man breaks?
Yeah, they did against Toronto for sure. It's hit or miss with that. I feel like they have been a little bit lately. But during like their best run, which was November through basically Thanksgiving through Christmas, the answer is no. One thing that's been really interesting with them lately is they've been doing these weird D-man rotations. So they've got 3 guys on their blue line who are going to be pending free agents this year. And to me, it's almost like a tryout. And those 3 defensemen, by the way, are Anton Strawman, Braden Coburn, and Dan Girardi, who have all been jokes, to Penguins fans in the past for various reasons. And to me, it's almost like Cooper's auditioning them all to see which one survives. Because they've got a couple young defensemen in the pipeline. Mikhail Sergachev and Eric Cernak are already up. They've got Cal Foote waiting, in Syracuse. And they've actually been scratching Mikhail Sergachev quite a bit. And Sergachev has arguably their hardest shot out of anyone on their defense, including Hedman. Can he hit the net? Not quite yet. He's getting there. But to answer your question, no, they don't give up like too many odd man breaks. They do allow a lot of zone time. So they have no problem letting so the Penguins, when they play their best hockey, are cycling the puck and, spending a lot of time in their opponent's zone, and they're not really the result of odd man breaks. Would you agree with that they're cycling through?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So the Lightning have no problem giving that up. They have no problem letting teams cycle through because they're going to have 2 guys and Vasilevsky all ready to go. They have no problem doing that. But against Toronto, I think Toronto is just too fast for them. And I got to tell you, I was at that game and sitting there watching former Penguins draft pick and part of the Phil Kessel trade, Kasperi Kapanen, just like speed by them. I'm like, holy crap. I thought I was watching some fast guys, but Kapanen is fast. It was ridiculous. So I think for the Penguins, they just have to be confident in themselves because the Lightning are going to have problems letting them into the zone. They're just going to have to take advantage of every opportunity they can get.
The Penguins are a mess. Oh my goodness.
They are a mess. And but the interesting thing is, right before we jumped on here, they called up Teddy Bluger, and I was actually just reading that Coach Sullivan said it's because he wants a 13th forward. But could it be code for trading Derek Brassard?
Oh, I hope so.
I hope so too.
What a disaster he has been. Oh my goodness, I'm so sick of him. I'm just that's all we've been. Every time I talk about the Penguins on the podcast, it's what's wrong with Brassard. And
you know what's wrong with this Brassard is Columbus drafted him. That's all you need to know.
Oh, is it some kind of like blue jacket virus or something like that?
Absolutely. I mean, I joked with my husband when the Penguins traded for Brassard last year. I'm like, really? Is Brassard trying to ruin me or something? Because, I lived in Columbus for 5 years as well, and we had season tickets there. And I remember watching Brassard. I'm like, this guy is so talented and doesn't know what to do with it. And then he goes to the Rangers and has some decent years. And actually, he wasn't horrible in Ottawa. I mean, I look at their run to the Eastern Conference Finals, and he was definitely a big part of it. And then all of a sudden, he comes to Pittsburgh. I'm like, why are you playing like you did in Columbus? Why? You're not.
The thing is, it's all about attitude with him. He just doesn't. He doesn't like the label of third line center. He thinks it's beneath him, so he doesn't. He looks like he doesn't care out there. Now
that is
he's like
so true.
He's like,
so
true. I'd be much better if I was on Sidney Crosby's line as a wing. Like, well, shut up, dude. You don't get the pick. What do you think? This is the Steelers?
Right. Well, I know it. Like having a guy like Brassard as your third line center really makes you miss like Jordan Staal and Nick Bonino. Well, it's so painful. It's so painful.
Jordan Staal and Bonino, they had a defensive responsibility. Brassard is not known for his defense, and
no.
Just in theory, it sounded like a perfect thing. It's like, we got this guy that's a top six center. We could just put him down and we'll have a great third line. And it just hasn't worked at all. And it just sucks.
Well, and the thing is like going to the playoffs, you need to have a good third line center. That's all there is to it. And unfortunately, Derek Brassard's not the answer. I think the best way to put it, Joey, is Derek Brassard is a top 2 center on a bad team.
Yeah.
That's really what he is, because he plays like a top 6. He doesn't want the responsibilities of a third line, because like you said, being on the third line is a lot different than being in the top 6. You've got that checking responsibility, especially down the stretch and in the playoffs. The Penguins, for example, you look at all of their Stanley Cup runs, it's because they put their third line against the other team's first lines.
Yeah. Yeah, you need that. You need that shutdown line, and that's definitely not his responsibility. And then and also the Penguins try to have this philosophy of, well, we'll have Crosby on the first line, Malkin on the second line, Kessel on the third line. We'll spread out all our stars, and we'll be hard to play because we'll have 3 strong lines. And it just hasn't worked. Brassard and Kessel have zero chemistry.
No, you know what's funny is Tampa's kind of got that too. I feel like Tampa, like I think about Tampa and they kind of do the same thing where they've been like spreading out guys because they're like, we can't have everyone stacked together, so we have to split them up. They either have everyone on one line and one line only, or they spread them across 3 lines, and it's just a disaster. And that's kind of what the Penguins are going through that larger scale because and so one thing that's really funny is